I think a lot of people, and especially for me, like I've noticed how much prayer has changed my heart, my life, and just being devoted to it and disciplined with it, but not disciplined for the sake of discipline. Discipline for the heart of God. You want your heart to drive the discipline, not your discipline to drive the heart. It's like putting the heart before the discipline. Yeah, the cart before the horse. What is it? Cart before the horse.
The cart before the horse. Yeah.
Yeah. And so you don't want to get it backwards, but you have to pray. But another thing is, a lot of people, I'm kind of not necessarily sidetracking, but have a little roundabout sort of way of saying it.
We'll steer shit. We'll go over.
Yeah. A lot of very successful people, they reserve their mornings to think. For example, Nikola Tesla, he would walk, I think, like 10 kilometers every morning. And he didn't sleep a lot, which is not advised, I guess. But he would walk a lot every morning. And he wouldn't do morning meetings up until a certain time because his morning was reserved for himself to think. And I mean, that guy was a genius. He made a ton of inventions, but he also advanced mathematics and electronics, science, etc. And he just spent that time to think, and it gives him so much that like 90 minutes a day. Imagine just spending 90 minutes a day thinking, processing, praying, meditating. That is so much more than most people would ever do. Martin Luther King Jr. spent hours praying. Some days it was hours praying in the morning. Most monks, most church fathers, or significant figures in the church, they spend hours of their day praying. It's like we couldn't even imagine that today. If you catch my drift, like I feel like 90 minutes of praying, I don't know if I could do that. Like I'd get bored or something. But like if you can devote your time to connecting with God and building a relationship with God, stuff will be drawn out of you. So to get deep into your soul and into your heart, you need to have a deep relationship with God. That's the balance with modern psychology and biblical counseling is that your relationship with God is going to affect your mind a lot, and a lot more than you would think. And so in all reality, the more that your heart trusts God, the better your mind will be. Mm-hmm. I firmly believe that. And I think it's biblical. But that's not to say that the devil doesn't cause you oppression and discomfort and harm. But again, to get deep, you have to go deep, or you have to dedicate a lot of time. You can't do it in 10 minutes of praying a day or one counseling session a week. Don't counsel every day, don't waste your money on counseling, but devote yourself to a relationship with God. I think the next thing that I would say is really guard your heart. It's a big thing. I've seen it, and I've had it affect me a lot. I used to think guarding your heart meant not believing like lies or not exploring other intellectual ideas because you might get convinced by them. But if you're convinced, there's this quote, I kind of agree with it. It's a little iffy, but if you're convinced into Christianity just by intellectual argument, you can be convinced out of it by the same thing. And so if your heart's not there, you're not gonna stick around. So guarding your heart is more than just be cautious about what you consume. That's a part of it, but you also need to be cautious about how you build relationships, what kind of relationships you have. And for example, I grew up having much more stronger, I don't connect with guys very well, and a lot stronger relationship with girls than I did with guys. And I wasn't totally careful about that, and it caused a lot of heartache for myself because I just didn't have a mature relationship with just female friends. And I was just very, way more friendly with them than I think is appropriate, I guess. Not that I was like making out with a ton of girls or, had 5 girlfriends at a time or anything like that. Just that I just didn't want to have guy friends. And that opened me up to a world of like effeminatism, I guess. It opened me up to a world of I would say weakness. I don't want to say weakness because it's effeminate, but weakness as in I didn't have strong character because I didn't have men in my life, or even just a lot of guy friends. And so, there's a lot of negative effects that happen, and that was me not guarding my heart. So guarding your heart in this sense of your deep emotional things, the reason that I had those relationships with women is because of the deep emotional thing that was in my life, which is I was raised without my dad. And so that totally changed my upbringing. That totally changed how I see men versus women, everything like that. And you just need to, once you know what's happening, you need to just be very careful and take it very, very slow with all relationships, guys or girls. Yeah.
Yeah. There's a few thoughts I had. In terms of guarding your heart, that's a good point. Is you want to? We talked about this. Like I need to get better at not telling myself narratives.
Yeah.
Because I'm a storyteller. I'm an overthinker. I like to overthink things, even if weird synchronicities and weird, mystical stuff seems to be happening. Where I've had a lot of experiences where it feels like God's at doing something in front of me, and he might be, but I don't have any capacity of knowing, and I'll make the habit of like, oh, this must mean this and that. What is there to gain? Like I got to ask myself, what is there to gain from trying to guess? Because if he's communicating with me about something, I realize now he'll do that through prayer. He'll do that through scripture. He'll do that through fellowship. And he has been. And I look at it now where I realize, I've been having those conversations with people and not listening.
Yeah.
And that's something I struggle with is even when it comes to my feature film, somebody pointed out, Tom, this guy is so annoying. He asks people for advice and then says, well, yeah, but no, I'm right about this.
Yeah.
That's exactly who I am. And it's so annoying.
Yeah.
And, but you, I don't know. I want your thoughts on that because I had another thing to ask about, or talk about, but what was that? Your thoughts on that?
Let me ask you this question first. Do you think that one of your gifts in life is to notice details?
I think so.
Do you think God gave you that gift?
Yes, I think so.
Okay. And so sometimes it can be overutilized, or you can utilize it in the wrong way. But you mentioned Acts 2:17. Because of that number 217 that's been cropping up, do you think if that number did not crop up, and if you didn't think about that number, that you would remember Acts 2:17 as well as you do?
No, I don't think I would.
So there's benefit to it, I would say, but you have to be careful about everything. So for me, something I've been dealing with recently is dreams. I get a lot of dreams. I dream pretty much every single night, and they're usually pretty vivid, and I can remember them for a while, I would say. There's some dreams from my childhood, from 10 to 12 years old, that I remember. There's a very distinct dream where I'm running around an empty college campus that I think my mom used to work at. And there was cats there. There's like 4 or 5 cats. And I remember them. There's like a black cat. There's an orange cat. It's like another orange cat with like dark orange stripes. And there's like 2, girl cats. Anyway, so I remember that dream. And it used to recur through my life as a child. And I still have no idea what it means. But I dream almost every night. And I started realizing that there's significance to my dreams. Like, God has given me a gift of being able to dream.